Welcome to MindShifters Radio, and today is Monday, March the 30th, 2026. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart. And welcome. Glad you're here. We've got Miss Susan, and at this moment, we've lost everybody else. So we'll just say hello and hold the space that things are moving forward in everyone's world. And breathing. We've been talking about regulatory speech, and we'll see as we get a few more callers in. Just how everybody's relating to the regulatory speech understanding. And if there's anything in particular we need to expand on. Welcome, Cammie. Welcome, young lady. Glad you're here. I spoke with Susan Fluick yesterday. She's in Hawaii and engaged fully over there in process. And it sounds like in both the internal and the external world for her, everything is moving forward. And she's assisting some folks over there who are doing different types of workshops and also setting up for October to do an event based in first century Aramaic forgiveness. So that's exciting. So does anyone have anything to share before we move into more regulatory speech conversation? Anything exciting for anyone? Any issues up? Yes, ma'am.
That Jung video, beautifully done, about his own past blew my mind. I had no idea about his own story. And I wonder if you know whether he became individuated enough. I guess he did, but how he healed himself of a mother with mental illness and absent here and there when he was very small. Those are big deal things. Do you know his story, his life story?
Not much other than what was in that video, no.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's not something I've, involved myself in externally. To look at his story, I know that he wrote a book called The Red Book, where he actually chose to enter into his own process on another level. And at the time, apparently he was concerned that by doing that, others would judge him and walk away from his teaching.
Oh,
But
wow.
he went in and did it anyway. And the Red Book describes that, where he pretty much almost went off the rails out of his mind and,
Wow, amazing.
and his healing process.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's been a very helpful element of your and Tim Hayes's work, because you do your stuff often out in the open, or if you do it on your own, you describe having done it, never allowing people to put you up on a pedestal, at least not too high up, because you're doing the same work as you're teaching us how to do. That's always been a kind of wonderful corrective so that we don't become a cult. And so it's wonderful that he did that in a time where that was probably not done much.
No, I think it was very much an intellectual process. I'm sure that he would have just loved to have had the Aramaic tool of forgiveness.
But you
for his
say
own
he almost
process.
went out of his mind, so that doesn't sound very intellectual to me.
No, he dug in and did his work.
Yeah.
And I think he probably would have accelerated through his process if he'd had that tool of forgiveness. We're blessed to have it now.
Yeah.
And moving forward.
I wish we could put you and him at a table somewhere and hear you hash it out. Boy, would that be great.
I would love to have spent, as I said in my text, just to have spent time in his field with the
Yeah.
work he's done, the insight he had to co-regulate with his understanding, with his energy, would be
Mhm.
enough, I think, for any human being.
Yeah.
And working
Well,
through that mother wound that he talks about in that video is definitely a big piece of work that needs to be done.
I had never heard it put just the way it was on that video. It was extremely helpful, and we could probably all patch it right into our story, because in many variations of that, probably many of us experienced that, either with a mother or with a father. He doesn't address the father there. I wonder if he does somewhere else. Of course, I should have looked it up rather than ask you, but and
I
I
would
love,
expect that at some point, and I haven't looked into it, he addresses, and maybe that wasn't a factor in his personal life, was
yeah,
father wounds.
yeah. Well, you can translate it to some extent, I imagine. Anyway, thanks for that video. It's short enough that anybody could just pop in and listen to it without any trouble. In
Yes.
fact, if I really recommend it, do you want to put it in this chat? I'm walking, so I might be able to find it while I walk.
It's in.
Oh, good. Thank you. All right.
It's
Well,
in.
good. Thanks.
Cool. Well, anyone else? Anything exciting to share? Miss Cammie, how are you?
I am pretty good. Good morning.
Good morning. Sweet.
I
Are you breathing?
yeah, I don't have words again. I don't have words. Cammie's speechless. It's just
Words could never say. The whole chapter in Why Is This Happening to Me Again on that topic.
Do what?
I say there's a whole chapter in Why Is This Happening to Me Again, and the chapter's entitled Words Could Never Say.
Oh, really? It's been so long since I read that book. I should probably read it again.
You should
I
probably
bet.
dig it out and give it a read.
You know what? I bet you it says a whole lot of things that I never saw in there the first time.
You'll have a whole new set of brain cells to see it through, I'm sure. And if you
Yeah.
don't happen to have the physical book with you, you can go to whyagain.org/book, and you just download
Right.
it from the website free.
I think I actually brought it with me,
Yeah, cool.
thinking the same thing, that I should read it and see what it says with these new brain cells that I've gained over, gosh, I don't know how long it's been since I've read it. Over 20 years ago.
Oh, really? You've been let it sit that long? We did a
I
whole
read it
year.
once.
Oh, well, you got to go back and do it again.
I read it
And
once, and that was when I first became familiar with the work,
right,
like after my first intensive. Yeah. I've picked it up numerous times and read parts of it. But
well, if you listen to Terry Boulding, and he's been involved in the work for well over 3 decades. He says if I remember correctly, the last time he spoke about it, that he had been through the book 14 times, and it was his textbook for healing. So it definitely is.
I have heard him say that. Yeah, maybe well, it doesn't have to be a maybe. If I don't have it here, I can get it online.
Yes.
And start reading it. So after reading Jeannie's book, And I missed a couple of the shows and I got behind, and so I want to go back and um read the whole thing again. But the way she talked about the thought disorders and doing worksheets on those, that has been so helpful for me in looking at it. It's like, yes, I was familiar with the term thought disorder, um, but I didn't look at it the way I'm looking at it now, that any thought that's less than love is a thought disorder, and
You
there's a
got it.
worksheet to be done on it. And some of those, I guess in the past it seemed like they're just so simple or so minor, but those minor, those things that seem minor, going through the worksheet process, you never know what kind of hidden gems you're going to find in there.
That's for sure.
I've
Of course,
always,
Nichols talks about the slightest irritation covers the deepest rage.
that's been jumping up in my mind a lot lately too. So it it might be, so like I've just always focused on the big stuff in my worksheet and my mind shifter process. Like it might actually be that I've worked through so much of the major huge trauma that I know of happened in my life that I've reran over in my mind over and over again and tortured myself with. Um, it just feels like a whole new, cleaner space where I can take these little things and then it's just like, instead of being trauma and drama, it is, oh, how cool. Like that came up out of that little bitty thing. What seemed like a little bitty thing, like you
Yeah.
said in the Course in Miracles. So that is going very well for me. Um, my like big issue that I'm working on, that I am confused about, and it's trying to figure it out, I guess, is I'm doing a lot of worksheets on my codependent behaviors,
Right.
and I'm so confused about, because I like doing nice things for people. I've always kind of just looked at it as long as I'm not expecting something in return, that it's not codependent. I'm just doing a nice thing because that's what I want to do. I think I'm overthinking the hell out of it,
Sounds like it.
which is typical for me, so no surprise. But I'm like, so how do I like,
Remember our definition of codependence. Okay.
so I mean,
Codependence
somebody
isn't
else,
doing something when you do something nice for people. That's not codependence.
right?
That's natural human beingness expressing. Codependence is when I think or speak as though something or somebody out there is the cause of what's moving in here. And as long as I believe that something out there is the cause of what's moving in here, then I have to tell myself a lie. I have to make up a story that's false about how that out there is the cause of what's moving. And when I do that, I fill my 9-bit mind with a lie. And with that lie, I hide the truth from myself. So the objective of
Right.
the forgiveness process in that situation is to collapse the lie so that I can have a direct revelation of truth, of what's going on, what's really happening here.
And thought a lot about that. I guess like, so it's not really, so it's not codependence under that definition. I mean, yes, I have that where things will come up and I'll think they did it and I can bring myself back around to realizing I'm creating this based on judgment. And yet, if I'm doing, so there's been a lot of periods of time in my life, and this is the part that I'm trying to um figure out. I know, pseudo solution. Doing things with all the times that I have done things for people to so that I would feel better about myself, or and this is where I think that I'm thinking it through, that like I'm just thinking it to death, because somebody said something on the show last week or the week before, was talking about like codependency with our children. Um and whatever was said, so like for the longest time I identified as a mom and a wife. That was my identity. That was,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then as a therapist, and you know, the way that we define ourselves based on our roles and form versus, and I feel like I'm just going, so I don't know where the balance is. Like, because we are so trained to take care of everybody else and not take care of ourselves. Where the heck is the balance?
So notice the codependence in that statement. We are so trained. See, it's the training out there that causes me to do this.
I heard that. I
Good
heard
catch.
that when I said it. And yet, isn't that true to some extent, that our training, and we have to undo that training? But I still see what you're saying, that if I'm still using those words, that I'm still saying that, yes, I've done this because of this.
And you can shift into responsibility communication round to recognize and own, gee, I've been trained and I'm following that training. And now I realize that training is obliterating who I am. So I'm going to forgive as to the behaviors associated with that training and step into another space. And in doing so, the underlying thought that I hear is self-blame. And so maybe it's time to let go of the disease of blame and step into simple ownership. I'm not to blame for anything I do. I'm innocent. And here's my next piece of work. I can look at the goal that's driving this. I can cancel the goal. I can breathe and drop into the part of my mind that holds some form of dissociated energy, clean it up and step back into being, and then just function as I'm designed to function as the true presence of love. And breathe.
That's what I'm doing. That's what
Good.
I am doing. Um, so I think maybe what I'm wanting to clean up out of my life is more talking about this, is more about checking with myself, checking in with my body. Am I doing this to gain approval, or am I doing this because this is who I am and this is what I want to do?
And both can be involved. And I can shift from the codependent aspect of a behavior into the interdependent aspects of a behavior. Behavior may not change, may be exactly the same. Same words, everything the same, but it's coming from a different place in me, functioning
Yeah, I
out of
think,
through being that rather than out of the separated self.
yeah, I think that's where my confusion lies. Um,
Are you breathing?
you can't hear me breathing? Oh. Yeah, I just don't get it. I
What
just
is it
don't
you don't
get it.
get?
I, I, I guess I do. I guess it's just I check with myself, and if it's a no, to say it without, even if I do have fear, to just say no. It's just a really simple word. It's really hard for some of us to say. I was always that girl. You need somebody to work late? Sure. You need somebody to pick up a shift? Sure. No problem. Just ask Cammy. She'll do it. Um,
And was that out of self-deprecation? The key is, was that out of self-deprecation, or was that out of course, I'm here to serve. I can do that. Which space does it come
that
from?
is a very good point, because there were um yeah, well, there's two things. It was, I'm here to serve, and I really like comp time because I can pile all that comp time up and take a week at the beach or whatever, So
Sounds good to me. So then saying, yes, I'm available is not coming from self-deficiency or from self-deprecation. It's coming from a place of, oh, this serves you? Great. You know what? It serves me too. I get to take a week at the beach because of that calm time. Hey, this is a win-win. That kind of thing comes from being, as opposed to, oh, yeah, well, if they ask me, I'm the victim and I'll work the extra hours, I'll burden myself. The behavior is exactly the same. The key is not in the behavior. The key is, where is it coming from inside of us? So behavior may not change, but the space the behavior is prompted from is what makes the difference.
Okay, so what if hmm
What if?
well, so what about the stuff that we do for our kids? Like, I think I'm just reading way too much into this, because I started Alex at kind of a young age of, if he could do it himself, that he would do it. Not that I wouldn't ever go do it for him just to show love, but it's like you could make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich yourself, you know? So you go do that. But then there would be times that I would do it just because, it has mama lovin', and it's always better if it has mama lovin'.
Yeah. Hey, making my own jelly sandwich, there's no comparison. Yeah. Because it comes
And
with something else.
right. And so I just, do you think that, so you know me a while, that I complicate the hell out of things? That I make things bigger than the mountain out of a molehill.
There you go.
Um,
Bring the honoring self, truth, and others into balance, and that disappears.
and the thing is that it is pretty much, it's almost perfectly balanced right now. Maybe I've been doing it for so long that I just automatically, I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I'm not gonna figure this out. So I should have just kept with that speechless thing. But it is helpful that you're doing the same behavior. It's where you're doing it from. I've known this for a long time, and the deeper I've been digging into this codependency and trying to get to know what I want at 61 years old versus what everybody else wants for me. Because I feel like I'm recreating my life, and it still feels selfish to me.
Well, remember, there's a difference between selfish and self-wise. It's like, when you're on the airplane and the stewardess does an announcement and says, put your mask on first. That's not selfish.
Right.
That's self-wise. Oh, I'm going to be breathing so that when it comes to getting the mask on my child, I'm still going to be conscious and able to do that. That's
Right.
self-wise, not selfish. Gee, I'm doing me first. Yeah, I'm doing me first because that way I'm going to be here to do the next level of service.
I've never heard anybody put it that way that I remember. Maybe I've heard you say it a bazillion times, but I like that. That makes sense to me.
It's like you take yourself into account at the level you take others into account because you're as important as others. So that's back to, where am I doing this from?
All right. What's my motive? What's my
Yeah.
intent? Am I doing this out of fear, or am I doing this because I want to? Am I doing this to keep the peace, or am I doing this because I want to?
And I might do it because that's my purpose and I want to, and it might also be keeping the peace. One doesn't nullify the other. If I stop myself because, it's codependence, I'm doing this to keep the peace, when the real underlying motivation is, this is how human life works.
Thank you. Thank you. That I knew that I was trying to go to another extreme. Like I kept seeing this pendulum and I was going way too extreme here, but I just couldn't find my way to that middle area. And I don't want to go to the extreme. I just said I do. um, it would be a lot easier on me and everybody around me if I found that balance without having to swing all the way to the other side. Why my bio mom's husband, when I was a teenager, he asked me, "Why do you want to make life harder than it has to be?"
Good question.
And that's what I've been hearing that a lot lately too, like as I've been trying to figure this all out. It's like, why
The number one pseudo
complicate it?
solution of the non-being mind. If I could just figure this out.
Yeah, and the way you're putting it is just so simple. And it's just so funny. Like I could sit and explain it to a client, but when it comes to applying it to myself, my head just gets all my emotions and everything gets all involved. And
We teach best that which we most need to learn.
I know.
And that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is. Maybe someday we actually listen to ourselves, take our own advice,
And breathe.
and breathe. Yes.
Yeah, the only difference between one of those statements and the other is whether or not I'm breathing.
Yeah. And saying no because I'm being true to myself does not make me a bitch. And
I'd be looking at that regulatory speech.
oh,
So I'd
oh,
I'd be doing some worksheets on the definition that's been fed to me that taking care of myself is being a bitch. That sounds like some.
ah,
That sounds like it could be the 77 times 70 worksheet issue.
ah.
No, taking care of myself means that I am self-wise. And in being self-wise, I get to be supportive of all of life, others, including myself,
Self-wise. I get to be supportive. And
of
that's,
myself and
I
all of life
mean,
simultaneously.
and I knew this, like, okay, myself and,
Think about Yeshua coming out of the Garden of Gethsemane. He's just gone through this mega healing process. He's standing in front of the high priest servant, and the high priest servant is injured, and he reaches out to offer healing. Is that codependent? No. He's standing in a state of being, and he's demonstrating what being would do in that situation.
yes. And that's where I was before I picked that damn bottle up again. Um,
Before the next layer came forward that you needed to anesthetize yourself against. No, that's good to go
yeah,
into that next healing crisis and be able to own and work through whatever's at the root of it. The bottle's just a symptom.
yeah, I know. It was after Mark died. Um, so this was what I was thinking about the other day. So when Mark died, because when we were talking about like how um people respond when somebody dies, and me and
Right.
Susan Bingham and Carrie had spoke about how when our mothers died and not having all that upset.
Right.
I think it was Susan Bingham said it was her mom. I know Carrie did. Um, and so when Mark died, that's where I was. I don't know if you remember when when you would call and see how I was doing, that I was like, this is just part of this is my genetic thing. this is part of the thing that I came here to heal was the loss of spouses. And then so this is where I think the trigger was with the kids. I went into major upset and grief over Alex not having his dad. And so it wasn't about me
So,
not
so my offering,
having.
listen to the denial there. Remember the definition of denial or codependence. When I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of what's moving inside of me. So you see, I did this for my son. No, you did what you did because it was inside of you to do it. If that action which you took is out of harmony with support of your being, then that's simply your next piece of work. The behavior doesn't need to change.
I created it. I would look at Alex and think about him not having his dad, and I created great grief and pain over that.
Yeah. And do you think it was over again? Let's listen to the definition of denial. When I think or speak as though something outside of me. So my take is you didn't have great grief and pain over what was happening with your son. You had great grief and pain. And what happened with your son losing his dad was a place to put it. Pretend it's not yours. And that's where, when you look at the goal involved and you cancel the goal, you get to collapse into what's at the root of that. And when being drops into what's at the root of it, my pain about loss of a parent, when I go into the root of that, then I can process through or forgive that whole dynamic. And then I can look at my son and go, I remember how painful it was not to have a dad. I can identify with that. And so I'm going to put extra effort into functioning and taking care of what your dad would have done so that you have that support. And that's not codependence. That's Yeshua standing at the front of the high priest servant saying, "Oh, I can bring this forward."
Mm-hmm.
And there's no loss in it.
Yeah, it's genetic because I did have my dad. I didn't have my bio dad. I had my adopted dad.
Yeah. And there's a
And
part
but
of you that
yes,
knew you didn't have your dad.
right. There's still loss there once I found out that I was adopted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I cancel my need for my son to have his dad there. Leads to the next worksheet of I cancel my need for me to have my dad there. For me to be showered with the presence of my kin and kith.
So before this conversation, I was thinking about, it was almost like I was trying to feel Alex's pain for him, as if that would do something for him. And thank you. It's like, no,
That's
this
codependence.
was right. And that's the kind of thing that I'm like dismantling, like all over the places. And this
Perfect.
is, yeah. And it creates confusion, but this has helped to clarify big time. And to give me permission to still be kind to people.
Yeah.
Because if I can't be kind to people, and I can't, it's part of what I feel like my purpose is, is to be
Yeah.
loving and kind and bring blessings to the world. Be a blessing, not be be a blessing, period.
Yeah. Functioning as a human being. I mean, to me,
And
that scene where Yeshua is standing in front of the high priest servant who's been injured, he's demonstrating what human life does. If we're actually living in being rather than out of our separated mind that's got all kinds of blame games going on, and someone who appears like the enemy is suffering, if I'm living in being, then I'm going to bring forward, even to the archenemy, I'm going to bring forward the presence of love and healing.
which is, oh my gosh, which is where I was until I started drinking like I did. And that bottle, I mean, like, I just got this, in AA and stuff, you talk a lot about resentments and how you can't afford them and dismantling those resentments. And I look at that like the very first codependent worksheet to me is like that main part of that fourth step, is writing down your resentments and then looking at your part and how you do it and all of that.
Resentment is not part of a human life.
Right.
Doesn't matter what the high priest servant's going to do to me. If I'm functioning from being, I'm going to extend love. If I'm functioning from non-being, then I'm going to extend some sort of vengeance or, whatever the dynamic is.
So this is where my work is I have become aware in the last couple weeks of a lot of resentments that I have that I thought I had worked through. And
Next level.
I'm living my life based on the resentments and the preconceived ideas of how people are going to respond, all of that stuff. Just basic pieces of this work.
And
Thank
so
you.
breathing into those spaces allows the change of everything. Where I come from, where I live, where I express from. And if we're in being, there is no reason good enough to stop the flow of love to the world. If we're in non-being, then the mind's got 1,000 conditions, 1,000 reasons. They talk about unconditional love. We're not interested in unconditional love because the minute you talk about unconditional love, you just resonated conditions.
Right.
We're talking about all embracing love. If my love cannot embrace this atrocity, doesn't mean I don't hold the person involved in the atrocity accountable for their behavior. But if I do that from a space of disconnection, hostility, and fear, then I'm in codependence, and that's my work to do.
Thank you. I've had so many conversations with people over the years, of about this thing and that judging this person, we have no idea what kind of life this person's lived, and they don't have tools and whatever. Where's the compassion instead of the judgment? And I just always had that compassion.
It's a good place to
And
live from.
it is. It was when I was happy. It was that's when I was the happiest in my life, was just
Probably weren't
living
happy
in
at
that.
all. You were probably living in joy.
Okay. Um yeah, living in joy and being.
And what happens is we trade it in for happiness. Oh, I have a goal. I have to achieve this goal. And now I get a dopamine hit. And I think that's life. Happiness is not the goal.
Okay, so I was joyful back then, and that's the mindset that I had, and I've traded it in for all these resentments. That's That just sounds like a crappy deal to me. Man,
Change the deal then.
I'm changing the deal because this
Yeah.
deal sucked. Oh gosh.
I give from being because being exists in me. The ego says, no, I withhold because this person doesn't deserve it. Well, if I withhold from them, who gets the deficiency? I do. I'm the
I
one who
do.
suffers from that lack.
Yes, and the key for me is to do that giving and caring to people. No, I was just thinking about like giving to people that don't want it. And having trying to force and push it on them. That's what has to stop. That's what has to stop. Well, it don't have to. That's what I would like. Okay.
There's a great scene in the Lucy cartoons where whatever one of the companions comes in, Lucy's sitting in her misery and her pain, and the character says, I'm just here to make you happy. And she turns around and says, I don't want to be happy. And some people believe they don't deserve. And that's just another place to clean out the generational patterns about deserving and to step into functioning from being once again. And the breath is the key to cleaning all that out, opening the veil of the temple, which is shut down by the breath and opened by the breath, and allowing those energies to be yielded up that come from self-centeredness, that come from hostility or fear. And to free your own physiology from all hostility or fear so that there's only a flow of active present love through your physiology, no matter who's doing what or what's going on in the world. The ego mind will say, no, I have a blame story. Let me tell you my story about how they did it to me. And this is why I'm withholding love. This is why I'm going to puke on them or whatever. Where love just expresses. Doesn't matter what anybody's doing. And again, that doesn't mean if somebody's doing something criminal that I can't hold them accountable from a connected space of love.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, I watched what you did, and that's really out of harmony with truth and with love. And it's also criminal. So I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call the police. That can be love in expression.
Right. Well, yeah, and like the bailing people out all the time of things that um they get themselves into, that's just not helpful to anybody. Um and so what is that as far as like when I feel like I'm punishing somebody if I don't help to bail them out of a mess that they created.
Well, I'd say you just moved into the arena of over responsibility, and you want to do some forgiveness work around over responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
If they've gotten themselves into a situation where there's drama and trauma and problems in their lives, love would allow them to be there, would offer support, care, concern. But, if that's where you've chosen to live, then I'm here to support you living there. And if that means you end up in a jail cell because that's how you've chosen to live, then that's okay with me. I'll be here for you. I'll continue to create support.
Yeah. I've
And yes,
never,
I will make the phone call to the police.
yeah. I've never bailed anybody out of jail. And people think that, like, I'm an ass because I say if Alex ever got into trouble, that I would bail him out one time and that would be it. And they're like, oh, no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You'd be there for him. And it's like, no, because it's the worst thing I could do for him. In my mind, that's not a punishment. That's that's a I'm not going to continue to enable you. It's really hard. No,
That's a thought.
it can be difficult with the codependency thing. I think my struggle is between like what I've learned from traditional arenas of it versus this work, because it's completely, well, there's a lot of overlaps, but
And remember that what's
yeah.
traditional games played out in the world are based in perception and a separated mind. And you want to eradicate perception in the separated mind.
Right. Well, I didn't mean to
Great
take up.
questions. Good clarification.
I did not mean to take up the whole show.
Perfect. I think you opened a space with some really important refinements that will benefit everybody. So
I know
appreciation
it'll
for that.
benefit me because I've been trying to go against my nature and my being to be of service. In order to not be codependent. And I'm not,
If I'm still trying to function by focusing on not being codependent, I'm codependent.
right. Um,
So then stepping forward as love creates the next level of clarity, the next piece of clarity that's needed. And the behavior may be identical in the external world, but where is it coming from?
yes. Yeah.
If it's coming from, oh, I am deficient, I have to, then there's my next piece of work. If it's coming from, I'm connected, I'm abundant, I'm generous, and I'll hold the space for this, then I can hold the space for this. Remember, when that breath moves and that space is available, everything unlike it that is touched by the breath dissolves, and you're freed of it. It's forgiven.
Yeah. So helpful.
I think the conversation will be helpful for everybody that listens to it.
Well, I hope so. It's I know I'm not the only person that struggles with this kind of thing. It's like I am a kind and loving and giving person. And when I try to stifle that, I feel like I'm not being true to myself.
Yeah, it's
And
self-destruction.
and I've tried to convince myself that this is codependency when or that I'm being selfish and I'm only doing it because it brings me joy. Like that's just a
So doing
byproduct. Like you said, hey, this benefits you. Yeah, I can do this, and hey, it works great for both of us.
so if joy is moving in you, you know you're connected to the divine.
Right.
So go for it. And the ego can come up with stories or, oh, maybe it's maybe. Well, then just look at the goal involved, cancel it, and free yourself of it.
Yep.
Who's that front door?
Awesome. I feel like I feel clear enough now that I got this.
Cool. And
Yeah.
Regina's
Me
got
and
her hand up. Let's
Ruka,
see.
me and Ruka got this.
There you go. I'm with you.
there is
Breathing. And Regina's
there's
got her hand up, so she's got some input. Let's see what Regina's got to say. Hey there, young lady. Welcome.
Hi there. Well, I'm sorry I'm late. My alarm didn't go off, and I'm in the middle of writing a book. Three things. I really appreciate what you gave me, Cami, because I needed exactly to hear that today. At the very moment
Awesome.
I needed to be here. But the other two things is that Michael keeps coming up when I'm doing my life review, is part of my doing the decades work. And I'm going back and I'm looking at all the pearls on a string that have brought me to where I am now, which I'm calling receiving Tao, T-A-O. And Michael's work was a turning point for me in my 50s. I'm 90 now, so it was right at midlife. And then Janie's book came out, which I really appreciate, how she wrote it, how she did it, and so on and so on. And so it was like these, because I want to do a whole section on my pearls, Michael Ryce pearls and Jeannie's pearls on this pathway. So I just wanted to let you know that that was happening. And
Sweet.
yeah,
But we'll keep passing out pearls as deeply as we can so we can all receive it.
absolutely. So I'm just glad you're still doing the work, and I have a resource to come to and kind of check in again. It's also bringing me back to everything I learned, because when I write about this pearl, I want to, well, certainly when I write it, I certainly want you to tell me what I'm, give me your response to it. I'm not there yet, but it's on the way.
We'll look forward to seeing it.
Hey, and you too, Jeannie. I really love what you did with your book, and I'm using it as an inspiration, and also the whole process of publishing is a big puzzle for me. So I may ask you a couple of questions at some point about that.
Any support we can be. We've been through it twice now. We're book shippers these days, which is kind of fun again. Haven't done that in 30 years when I did
Boy.
Why Is This Happening to Me Again? So any support we can be, we're here.
Well, I'll send something to you just so you have an idea. But whenever it comes, because I'm working 24/7 now on all this work. So, and it's a total state of joy to do.
Awesome.
24/7 joy.
Very cool. Well, glad to be on the team.
Thank
I
you.
still enjoy playing that bowl that you shared with us way back when in exchange for an intensive.
Extensive bowl, singing bowl.
The singing bowl, the big,
Yeah,
huge white one. Yeah. That's awesome.
yeah. How's it going for you, Jeannie?
Doing really well.
Good.
I've created a workbook to go along, a companion with the book, for people that are going to do like book studies, kind of a
Mhm.
guide of how they can guide the people through the workshop and things. So I've sent that to 3 ladies who are going to be doing support groups, and let them kind of beta test it before I publish it.
Sure, sure,
Uh,
sure. Well, I have a group called Inspire where I live, and they're my laboratory. So everything I'm doing, I'm testing out on them. And then I have
Nice.
doing the decades group, and I have several groups that I'm working with to test it out. So yeah, it's all encompassing and takes every bit of energy and thought. It's just wonderful to be able to be a part of that.
Well, you look awesome.
Sweet. Well, and I appreciate the fact that we get to be on your team. 40 years, that's a long time hanging out.
It is. And because when I got in doing my decades, I wrote everything up to age 50. And then suddenly I called it my 6, 7, 8 shuffle, 9 shuffle. Everything just was coming in on me. All the things that I did, I couldn't find the order. I didn't know what one thing led to the other, to the other, to the other. Oh, this is a question. I don't know how I got to you. I do not know how I got to Michael.
Are you
Ryce.
connected originally? I don't have any idea.
I didn't think you would, but but I'm still living in that question of how did I get to Michael Ryce? I knew how I got to India. I knew how I always know how I got from one to the other, but I don't know how I got to you. So that's going to be interesting because that's a link that I need to have is what caused me to go there because there's a logic to, these pearls as I've gone through my decades.
Yeah, I'm just looking in my notes and I don't have anything that indicates how we first got connected.
Do you have a date, even date? That would help.
Yeah, I don't.
It was that long one. Well, it came once and then it came back for the whatever, how many days was it? You said bring a friend and I brought a friend. So it was
I'll do some looking and see if I can
yeah.
come up with that.
I think it was just a weekend and then I came back for, was it 2 weeks? I don't know. It was a big, long thing.
Right. Yeah, I think it was a summer program you were going to do. If I remember correctly, you were maybe going to do a 9-day. You did the 9-day and left and then came back that same summer, if I remember correctly.
And I brought a friend. You said to bring a friend and I brought it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the date I would like to have if you can have it, find it.
I'll look and see if I can find it.
Okay.
Do you remember who it was you brought with you?
What'd you say?
Do you remember who it was that you brought with you?
No.
No. Okay.
I'm not in
Well, we'll do
contact.
some looking and see what we can uncover.
Okay, that'd be great.
Cool. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Cammie, great work, great questions. Just really open a nice space. So appreciation to everybody. Have a blessed